So if I rewrote this in terms of sine and cosines, secant can be written as 1 over a cosine of x. Cotangent can be written as a cosine of x over a sine of x. And that's going to be minus, again, another cosine of x over sine of x times a cosine of x. Okay. Now, when we kind of multiply across here, the cosines are going to divide to 1. So that's going to be leaving me with a 1 over a sine of x. And then here, I'm going to be left with a minus a cosine squared of x all over a sine of x. So now I can, again, combine my two fractions. So it's a 1 minus a sine squared of x divided by a sine of x. Okay. So again, knowing my Pythagorean identities, right? The most famous Pythagorean identity, cosine squared of x plus a sine squared of x equals 1. And again, we can go from here to here, right? If I was to divide sine over cosine, if I was to divide everything over by cosine, you can see that's, if you divide every term by cosine, that's how you get to this one, right? Now, if I was to subtract a sine on both sides, you can see that's going to be equal to a cosine squared. So this is going to be now equal to a cosine squared of x all over a sine of x. And I guess the only simplified version here is I could rewrite this as a cosine of x times a cosine of x all over a sine of x. I could group those together, and that'd give me a cosine of x times a cotangent of x. I guess that'd be my simplified version. Usually I like to simplify things in terms of sines and cosines. So, let me try this one more time. Let's do this a different way. Let's factor out a cotangent. And if I did that, I'd get a secant minus a cosine of x. And then if I were to multiply those, yeah, I think it's going to be the same, right? Because that's going to be a cosine of x over sine of x. I just want to try and see if I made a mistake somewhere. Right? And then you put this over 1. Then you'd multiply by cosine of x over a cosine of x. Cosine of x over a sine of x. That's going to be 1 minus a cosine squared of x all over a cosine of x. Okay? Yeah, and then, all right, I'm doing something wrong. I must have wrote something in wrong. I did. I went from 1 minus cosine squared to 1 minus sine squared. I was wondering what I did wrong here. There we go. Okay. Cosine squared of x. Yeah, there we go. I just wrote it down wrong. My apologies. Okay. See, that's why sometimes you have to check your work, right? So this 1 minus cosine squared, guys, is equal to a sine squared of x. Now, again, to understand what that would be is a sine squared of x all over a sine squared of x.